All right, folks, it's time to preview the Raiders and the Chiefs game on Monday night. And what better way to do it than with an 8-year NFL veteran cornerback, a man who racked up some stats in those seasons, 23 career interceptions, has scored 3 touchdowns, and he may have one of the best nicknames. I'm honored to welcome Mark Mighty Mouse McMillian to the Sports Night Show. How you doing, my man?
Hey, man, I'm doing good. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, so I came out with the nickname. How did you get the nickname? Someone gave it to you, I'm assuming.
Yeah, someone gave it to me. Obviously, in Philadelphia, it started off, I was called the Little Big Man Show. I had a show that actually won an Emmy Award.
Damn, I don't have an Emmy. You got one.
Yeah, I got a little Emmy Award. So, and it kind of traveled to Kansas City. We had Andre Rison there, who was Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah.
Derek Thomas, God rest his soul. He was the Falcon. And everybody was like, what are you going to come up with? So me and Dre was in the locker room. He was like, yo, man, something's got to be like mighty, something strong. So we came up with Mighty Mouse, and it kind of stuck in Kansas City, man, and it still follows me to this day.
Okay, Mighty Mouse. Okay, so you small but pack a punch, and you used to hit people.
Yeah, and I'm still paying for it today, but that was part of the job. When you're back in the 90s, with a physical ball game. Obviously playing with the Eagles. With that defense that we had, and then carried it on to Kansas City, had a really good defense, and then formerly the Washington Redskins, we had a really good physical defense as well. So I've always been in the East where it would always be physical football play.
I got you. Ben, you also got a chance to cover some of the best receivers in all of football and get some interceptions off the best one. If you had to name the probably like your most prized interception out of the 23 that you have, who would you say you got one from that you really, that's my guy?
I would just say probably the first one, and I don't even know who it was.
Oh, really?
But, that was my first opportunity to get my NFL start in Seattle.
Okay.
It was a really physical ball game, and obviously, getting my first interception was, man, it was something special. Obviously, I had, later in my career, I had some pretty good interceptions off some really Hall of Fame quarterbacks, but the first one was probably the most memorable one.
Okay, Dave Craig, maybe? Jim Zorn? Nah, you're not old enough to play against Jim Zorn.
Yeah, Jim Zorn. Come on, man, I ain't that
old. All right, so we're here to talk about the Raiders preview. Now, I wonder about this. You never played for the Raiders, obviously, but you played for the Kansas City Chiefs. And people that know Raider Nation know that the Chiefs, the Raiders, have a rivalry that they hate each other. Yeah. They hate each other. So you're the perfect person to talk about just how intense is that rivalry when you're playing on one of those teams?
It's very intense. Obviously the Chiefs have been dominating of late, so it's really not that much of a rivalry. It is still a rivalry. It's for the AFC West. The Raiders are still in the hunt as far as in the division, but back in Kansas City, we knew it was Raider Week when Marty Schottenheimer came into the locker room, and he used to cry. He used to be so fired up to beat the Raiders, and obviously Marcus Allen. The way they did him in Oakland.
That's right.
You could just look on Marcus' face when we played against the Raiders that he wanted to beat the Raiders, and as players, we wanted to give him that victory, but we didn't like the Raiders, man. And obviously, I'm on the different side of the coin now, but it still makes my skin crawl, man, thinking about the Raiders and the Chiefs matchup.
So when I see you at training camp at the Raiders HQ, you're there, but you're like, I don't really want to be in this one.
Not really, but, obviously I got to, root for the guys, obviously working with these guys and covering them through training camp and through the season. But, man, once a Chief, you're always a Chief. And that's just a real tough, good rivalry that football needs. This is something that football needs, rivalry games like this. Chiefs going into a hostile, the Raiders going into a hostile environment with everything on the line. They've beaten Kansas City and Arrowhead before. So it's
recently.
So it's not like it can't be done.
Yeah.
They're coming off a good win against the Denver Broncos. Seems like everybody's beating the Denver Broncos. But it's going to be a great matchup, and I'm excited to see how both teams fare out against each other.
Okay, now tell everyone at home this, because I've heard it that Arrowhead Stadium is probably one of the best environments to play in. I've never been there. I've been to a couple good environments, but just how much of a factor do you think that will play in this game? Just the intensity, Monday Night Football, the environment that is Arrowhead Stadium.
It's one of the best environments in football. It's almost like a college atmosphere. That's how I explain it, because there's no other football team in town. You got college football. There's no NBA team, so everybody rallies around the Chiefs. And on Monday night, man, there's just something special about that. We used to get to the game way early, and there was people there barbecuing whole pigs, ribs on the grill.
The stadium, that's right. They barbecue in Kansas City.
The stadium is full of smoke. So it's a great rivalry, man. But as a defensive player, that played into our hands. And, watching Derek Thomas, if you go back and watch some of the clips with Neil Smith when they played in Arrowhead, when it's rocking, man, it's tough for those offensive linemen to hear the snap count. So we got a lot of, false starts. Derek Thomas got plenty of sacks just from the crowd noise, and it helps us out a lot.
That's right. Neil Smith played on the team. You played with him as well.
Neil Smith went to the Donkeys, to the Broncos, and then he won a Super Bowl.
Oh,
so I didn't get an opportunity to play with Neil. Played against him, but Derek Thomas was the guy that we had. Obviously James.
Well, he was a man. Yeah.
Yeah, James Carter. Dale Carter. James Hasty was the safeties in the corners, and we just had a really good mix.
Okay. All right. The Donkeys, huh?
Yeah, I don't.
That'll slip out.
Yeah, it don't slip out, man. We didn't like the Broncos. That was another.
So the Broncos, Raiders,
Chargers, all that. We didn't like anybody.
If you didn't wear red and white, I don't like you.
We didn't like them, and same for them. They didn't like us as well. Obviously, when Raiders were in Oakland, it just seemed like it was a little bit more gritty. I would say grimy.
Yeah.
You come out of the tunnel, man, the first smell you get, it ain't barbecue. it ain't barbecue that you're smelling in the store.
I was born in Oakland.
It was like the crossing guards, there were police, there was SWAT team. I've never seen so many police at a football game other than when we used to go to Oakland.
Wow, that's true, because I've heard of things happening. Things happen
real. I got into a personal incident during the game when we beat them on Monday night. Spectacular game. This fan was just chirping on me all game long, and I was like, man, I was making plays. He said the wrong thing. He started talking about my mama.
Uh-oh.
You don't talk about it, brother. Mama. So, man, we ended up winning the game, and the fan tried to jump over the railing.
He's like, come see me.
Yeah, he tried to come see me, which was crazy. And obviously the police guards got him before I did, and they put him in the little hog tie.
Yeah.
And of course, me, man, I was just the little dog. I went all up in his face. I probably spit all in his face. He got a little bit of taste of the Mighty Mouse that day.
Oh, okay. Okay, got a taste of the Mighty Mouse that day. So in this game, let's kind of talk about the Raiders really quickly, because I wonder about this. Josh McDaniels, new head coach, 1-3 so far. What have you liked about what he's done, or what have you not liked about what he's done? What type of job overall do you think he's done so far?
It just seemed like it's a little inconsistent. You really can't get a pulse on this team because you just don't know what's going to happen. Some drives you think like, wow, why can't they do this on a consistent basis?
Yes.
And then some drives you're like, what's going on? So
who is it?
Yeah, and like last 2 weeks ago when they went to Tennessee, and Josh Jacobs non-existent.
Yeah.
And then you bring him back home against the Broncos, and he's probably one of the best players on the football field.
$144.
So it's like, I understand the political game, how it goes on behind the scenes. His contract is up. Maybe they don't want to give him a little too many carries. I've seen guys get faded out like that.
Yeah.
Clearly he carried the team on his back. So it's like it's a lot of inconsistency with this ball club. And, some people say he's way over his head, but this is his second stint as a head coach. He's getting another opportunity. He's probably got one of the most athletic offensive teams, I would say, as a whole.
Like skill positions, wow.
You got one of the best tight ends in the game. You got the best receiver in the game. You got one of the best third down receivers in the game. Got one of the best running backs in the game. You got a quarterback who's been consistent on and off, but he's got game experience.
Yeah.
So you would think that would carry these guys a little further. But here we are sitting, with one win. So hopefully they can get it together, because you got to go into Arrowhead and play a dynamite offensive firepower with Patrick Mahomes.
No, that's actually, I was going to ask you about that as well. And the fact that they lose Tyreek Hill, I was one of those people thinking like, one, we're going to find out about Pat Mahomes. Mm-hmm. Like, if he's really, is he that guy? Can he do it without the cheetah out there? And I guess they can do it without the cheetah out there. How surprised are you, or maybe not, the fact that they've been playing as well as they've been playing, losing Tyreek Hill?
Following this young man's career since high school. I actually selected him for an All-American game when no one knew about him.
Okay.
So then he goes to Texas Tech, have a really good career. Then obviously what he's doing in Kansas City. He's been doing this on a consistent basis.
Okay.
It doesn't seem like it matters who's out there catching balls. Obviously the offense has changed. I think it opened up a little bit more for him.
I think so
now
too.
It's just not Kelsey. It's not the cheetah going over the top. Now you got Juju Schuster. You got guys that you can put into the mix. So he's got a little bit more options. You got Allaire coming out of the backfield, who's a good running back out of the backfield as well, out of LSU. Yeah. So he's got more weapons that he's able to use. And you're seeing that on Sundays because he's using multiple formations, multiple wide receivers are getting the ball. So everybody's happy right now in Kansas City. There's not Tyreek Hill throwing a tantrum because he's not getting the ball. Everybody's playing their role, and guys are making plays.
And with that being said, do you think this actually also spotlights Andy Reid and just how good of a coach he is?
Well, we can't forget about Eric Bieniemy as well.
That's true. That's
a
true.
lot of people overlook Eric Bieniemy. Said he's not.
He calls the plays, right?
He calls the plays, and a lot of people's like, oh, he shouldn't be there, but Eric Bieniemy is calling the plays. Obviously, Big Red has got the final say, but him and his relationship with Patrick Mahomes over the years, they won a Super Bowl together.
Yeah.
So it's easy for those guys now. It seems like there's no egos. When you got a superstar like Cheetah, he's got that ego. He needs to rock, and now you don't hear any chirping from these guys. Patrick Mahomes, you saw him a couple of weeks ago get into it with Eric Bieniemy, because he wants to win. He wants to put up many points as he can. But the following week they come back on the road and they go beat a good Tampa Bay team on the road.
Yeah, that was a big win. That was a really big win. And speaking of the cheetah not chirping, a man who you called, and I believe the exact same thing, is the best receiver in the game, Devonte Adams. Mm-hmm. What do you think about how he's being used and just so far how, I guess, his Raiders career has gone thus far? I mean, he's got 3 touchdowns, almost 300 yards in 4 games.
Yeah.
But,
It's not the production that we're used to seeing in Green Bay.
He's a monster.
Yeah, it's not the same production. Obviously, Derek Carr is not Aaron Rodgers, but still, if you get this young man the ball at any area, he's going to make a play.
Yes.
You look at when he was in Green Bay, all those balls wasn't just out routes and curls route. He were making plays, back shoulder catches. I saw last week in the game against the Broncos, they tried one early, and they were on the same page. So they actually came right back to that same play and connected on that. So hopefully they can get it together and use this young man. If I'm on the defensive side of the ball, I'm yelling, feed Devonte. I know, Waller, you got to get your catches. Renfro is just going to play his role. He's not going to chirp or anything. Devonte is the alpha guy on that offensive ball.
Yes.
And he should be getting 10 to 12 targets a game easy.
Yeah, oh yeah. I think on the low side, 10 to 12 for sure. No, I agree with you there. So, Monday night, the Raiders, the Chiefs. What do the Silver and Black have to do in order to get a win? Do they need to try to beat them in a shootout? Or do the defense got to show up and show out like Max Crosby did this past week? What is the biggest key to victory in your opinion?
Special teams.
Oh, wow.
A lot of people, in this game, it's a rivalry game. Okay. Sometimes this game comes down to, penalties, special teams. Penalties going to be big. The Raiders have to cut down on those penalties. Like I said, with the crowd noise, that's going to pose a little trouble for the offensive line, who's been playing sporadic of late.
Yeah.
So you really don't know what you're going to get out of the offensive line. But you can't outshoot the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
That's
it's not going to happen?
It's not going to happen.
Okay.
You got to pack your lunch pail. Obviously the defense has to be consistent. Max Crosby is going to be Max. He's going to get his pressures. Chandler Jones didn't exist in the first half last week, but in the second half he actually made some really good plays. Got a lot of pressure on the quarterback that forced some bad throws. So it's Nate Hobbs is going to have his hands full, but he's one of the bright young he's one of the bright young cornerbacks in the National Football League. Jonathan Abrams been playing solid. A lot of people haven't been saying anything about him, but he's just been playing his game, making really good plays around the line of scrimmage is where they need to use him at. So he's playing pretty good football. So it's going to be interesting to see how this matchup plays out. But, it's tough. But like I said, you got to roll out the cards. The Chiefs put their pants on just like the Raiders. And you got to line up, man. It's football.
Yeah, and as a competitor, you're like, I know that in my mind you're probably thinking the Chiefs should win, but in your mind you're like, man, I'm a competitor too. If I'm on the Raiders team, I'm like, I don't care who they are.
Right, and I wasn't always on the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Obviously playing with the Eagles, the 49ers when we went out west, everybody knew how good they were. But in our mindset, we was like, we don't care about Steve Young or Jerry Rice or John Taylor. We came a long way from Philly all the way to Candlestick, so we're going to put this thing on them. And, you know, that's the mentality that the Raiders have to have. And hopefully those young guys know the importance of this rivalry.
Yeah.
You know, you got to go out there and fight, man. The Chiefs are not going to give it to you. You got to go out there and take it from them.
I like that. I like that. And I love that old school mentality, that Buddy Ryan mentality. Like, we're going to go ahead and put this thing on them. We're going to put this thing on them.
And when I say put this thing on them, I mean, like, you know, try to inflict, you know, your dominance on them. And, you know, that's something football teams seem to get away from a little bit now. Obviously, the game is called a little different, which is good for the safety of the game.
Of course.
But, you know, it's still football.
Yeah.
It's still physical.
Yeah.
You know, you still got to go out there and try to knock somebody out.
I got you. Put this pressure on them. Just pressure.
Yeah, just a little pressure.
A little bit of pressure, a little bit of pressure. I appreciate you coming to the studio first time here. Hopefully not the last time. You're not going to.
Come on, man. This is
going
how
to
we
be back.
do. I got you, man.
God.
We got a lot of games left, so you know what I'm saying? Go on and book your boy up, man. I even got a jacket, tie on for you, man, so we good.
You're outshining me. You're outshining me over here. My guy, Mark McMillian. Yes, the 8-year NFL veteran, the former Kansas City Chief, Philadelphia Eagles, San Francisco 49er, New Orleans Saints. He played for some teams. He did some things. I appreciate you coming in.
I appreciate you, man. Appreciate you.